but I want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us. Aging But Dangerous is pleased to provide these virtual learning opportunities for our community. And if you have any subjects you'd like us to cover, please email me at info@agingbutdangerous.com. As you know, we are all about fun, spirit, and style. Jeannie coined these words as part of who Aging But Dangerous is. And I wanted to check in here before we get going to just ask how many of you have actually visited our website or our shop, those kinds of things. Raise your hand if you have, because we want to know that it's working. Oh, good. Everyone has done that. That's excellent.
Good.
And then to the shop and to any of you been on Facebook and watch Jeannie do her Facebook Lives? Oh, yeah. Okay. So you know that she's very entertaining. All right. That's perfect. All right. So before I introduce our speaker, I would like to introduce our co-founder and owner, Jean Ketchum, who many of you know. Jeannie, you want to say a few words?
Well, I don't know, except Pat. I mean, you do such a good job, and this is very exciting. I'm so anxious to hear our speaker, and Becky, and thank you all for joining. I mean, this is very, very exciting. And I know a lot of you come to our monthly meetings, which, I recognize the faces. I don't always recognize the names, but thank you all. And then thank Pat for, pulling this together and making this happen. It's a great subject.
Thank you, Jeannie. I'm excited about it. I personally use ChatGPT and have found it very useful in many ways, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But I'd like to introduce our speaker, Becky Amble. And Becky is she's a seasoned business strategist and with over 30 years of experience, and has cultivated a successful career marked by her roots in problem-solving resilience. Having created and grown businesses, her expertise has impacted over 100 companies using a proven process for revenue growth developed during her tenure in a major corporation and as a marketing instructor at 2 colleges. That's how I met Becky, was taking a marketing class with her. Beyond her contributions to business, Becky has emerged as a thought leader in artificial intelligence, specializing in ChatGPT. Her insights have garnered international recognition, featured in Wall Street Journal, USA Today, CBS, and on various local and regional media outlets. As the author of 10 books, 10 plus books, I should say, 150 plus articles and 250 videos, Becky's prolific work reflects her commitment to sharing valuable insights in business and industry. Her newest book, ChatGPT for Adults Over 50, launches this weekend, and I'm sure Becky is going to share a little bit more about that in her presentation. Becky is really one aging but dangerous woman, and the inside piece on Becky is she throws a great pool party at her home during the summer. Becky, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this dangerous group.
We are dangerous. So how would you like to start, Becky?
Well, I know you've got some questions, so I don't know if you want to just start asking questions, or if you want me to talk about some basic ideas, or what.
I'd like you to give us a little overview of what artificial intelligence is and ChatGPT, just as an overview, so that we can all be familiar with it. How many of you have actually gone on ChatGPT? Raise your hand. Okay. All right, good. And others are just learning, so this will be good. All right, Becky?
Maybe I'll tell you how I got started, because it all started in December of 2022, I believe it was. And I work with a guy in Scotland, and he had his mastermind group, and he said, hey, I've got to tell you people about this thing. And I just thought, oh gosh, do I have to learn one more thing? Please. I'm already overwhelmed or stressed out, spending too much time working. Last thing I need is to have to deal with one more thing. So I thought, to heck with that. I'm ignoring that. Well, then he did a demo. And I was sitting there and I just was taking notes and sucking it all in and going, oh my gosh, I have got to get on this. So as soon as we finished our session, I have a different sense of what I find fascinating. So one of my topics that is fascinating is benchmarking, which, could keep me up at night and probably put you to sleep. Anyway, so I thought, I'm going to see what this thing has to say about benchmarking. So I type it in and I probably just, and it's called a prompt, but you basically just type in directions to the device, to the whatever you're using. And so I typed in and I said, explain benchmarking to me. And so it comes back, it types in its space and gives me this thing. And I'm like, well, that's not right. So Darla will appreciate this. I take the printout, I printed it off, and I went and talked to my husband, the engineer. And I said, look at this. Look how it's describing benchmarking. That's more like what an engineer would have. And he basically said, yeah, what's your problem? Kind of like, what's your problem? Of course. And so then I went back to ChatGPT and I said, explain benchmarking for me in the business world or in a business environment. And then it came back and did what I wanted because I used to do seminars on it. So I figure I know what this stuff is. I'm just going to see if it knows what it's talking about. Well, then I started using it more and more. And what it is it's called, there's a couple things here just in the jargon because people will talk about some of this. It's called a large language model, LLM. And what that means is whichever artificial intelligence you're using, and we refer to it as text versus audio and video. So we're just mostly going to talk about text tonight. So it's words, okay? So it gets a ton of information fed to it. We call that training. And so the large language model means it's just got a ton of data and you're going to type in, you can actually talk to it now, but you're going to give it words that show up on the screen, your computer or your phone as text, as words, and it will come back with an answer for you in words. So that's what large language model means. It just means tons of information and you get printed words back. The thing also is keeping in mind that this was first talked about in 1956. So that's older than some of you here, but not as old as everyone. It's been around. It was a bunch of engineers. I think they were all guys. I have the picture of them at, I think it was Dartmouth. And they were just talking about all this. Well, over time, you have all seen artificial intelligence. In particular, probably the biggest factor or the biggest known source here is Amazon. Is there anybody here that has not bought at Amazon? Okay, so I'm not a fan of Amazon. I only use it when I'm sort of desperate or to sell my books. And Amazon, you know how it works. You're on there or another retail or some other site, and they pop up and they go, oh, other people have liked this. And all of a sudden you're looking at 3 other things and you kind of go, just leave me alone. But that's artificial intelligence. And most of us probably use Word, Microsoft Word. Now we only have one out there, but in the old days, we used to have more products we could choose from. If you're typing along and you're saying something, what happens? It pops up a word for you, doesn't it? It's anticipating what is coming next. So it'll fill it in. And you know how now we have that on email too, it'll populate the name. So you put in Bob and then you get like 3 Bobs or whatever to pick from. That's all how we've been using AI without probably even thinking much about it. So it's been around us. And I say that partly because I think sometimes people get a little bit maybe confused, overwhelmed, and even scared. And my theory is for artificial intelligence, get out there and learn everything you can, because then instead of being scared, you will be empowered. And the more you know, the more you can tell if somebody's messing with you on artificial intelligence. And I would rather be as up to speed as I could be. So if somebody's screwing around, I can tell. Like, there's somebody that I do a lot of things on LinkedIn where we post and we comment and all that. And she's using artificial intelligence for her images lately. And I almost feel like telling her, why don't you stop doing those? Because they are so fakey. So, there's different things that are the pros and cons whenever you're dealing with any of this kind of stuff. But that's kind of how it works. Is the other thing I should maybe mention is that artificial intelligence is not human. So one of the key words or terms that is used is human in the loop. And what that means is that anything that you get from an artificial intelligence, you want to critique yourself and give it the smell test. Do your own fact checking. Look at it and say, does this make sense? Does this sound right? Did they miss something? There's things that you can do now when you're typing in your question to the it's called a chat bot. When you're typing in your question to the artificial intelligence, that you can either have something on your computer, or you can have it basically installed in your artificial intelligence that will fix your typos. So here's another one where you have to have human in the loop. If you have something that's a typo, you have to make sure that it didn't change the word and change the meaning. Because how many times have we had our stupid autocorrect on our phones come up with some kind of thing? Frankly, I almost think it would be fun to do a bunch of autocorrects, put it in a book, because sometimes they sound so humorous that they're entertaining. But you kind of got to watch for that as well. And then lastly, I guess another part to watch for is that think about your artificial intelligence as something that has read every book in the library, every PDF, every magazine, every white paper, every journal, everything that's been out there, and they have access to that information. The thing is, it is a machine and it can't make judgments. So it's not going to say, I think this is a healthy response, or that it's complete. It's just going to be based on what information it has. And it's going to have a ton of information. It's just a lot of times not going to be perfect and not going to come out quite right. So that's where you really want to use your brain and pay attention to things. So I don't know, there's a few little tidbits I could go on and on, but then it just sounds like a bunch of words and then you're probably going to fall over.
Well, Becky, thank you for that overview. I had put together some questions that I thought might be of interest to people. And we can check out, in fact, if they are or not, because maybe you're not interested at all. But the first one was, I've always wanted to write my memoirs. How would I use AI or ChatGPT to begin?
Oh, Pat, if that's a real question that you have, we better spend some time together.
Well, it's something that happens. People want to write their stories, but how do you begin?
Okay, so ChatGPT, and let's just talk about ChatGPT, because you can use Gemini, which used to be called Bard, and you can use Bing, which is Microsoft, and you can use Claude. Anyway, there's over 300,000, somebody told me recently, of these different things out there. So the best thing you can do with ChatGPT is tell it what you want. Now, in Pat or Patricia's case, she's going to say, I want to write my memoirs. I want to talk about when I was young and when I grew up on the farm and how we struggled and how we had da 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 da. Or I want to talk about how my family was like this and they were engaged in music and in performance, and I want to include that. So you start telling it what you want it to do. And in this case, for memoirs, give it a bunch of stuff. You don't even have to be organized. And then you can tell it to come back with an outline and say, organize this for me. What would make sense? You can go back to it again and you can say, gosh, what would make it more interesting? And it might come back with some more stuff. And then you might say, what suggestions do you have? And it might come back and say, how about some examples? Or how about some more stories? Or how about, do you have somebody that could give you a story to add to this, et cetera, et cetera. Then the other thing that you can do that is really, really great is, so you give it all this stuff and you kind of got it coming back and forth and you're thinking, man, this is pretty dang cool. You then can go back to it and say, what questions do you have of me? What would you ask me so that I can give you, the chat, good information for my memoir? And then it'll come back and ask you questions. And if you do that, depending on how you do it, you could have it you could say, hey, what are 3 questions that I need to answer in my memoir? You could do 3, you could do 5, you could do 10. You could say, when people do memoirs, what are the most common questions? Give it something, give it an order. And then what you might want to do, depending, is you might just tell it, give me 1 question at a time. If you're sitting there and you feel like you want to type or talk to it with your phone, then you might just want it to do 1 question at a time. And that's a building process.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comments on that process? No? Okay.
Well, let
The
me
next-
ask, who here would want to write their memoirs?
Oh,
Nobody?
Nobody has any memoirs? I can't believe that.
Nobody has any grandchildren? Because usually it's by the time you have grandchildren, I think that people are like, okay, I need to get with it.
Well, the next question is, I need to make some money, so I want to think up a side hustle I could do. So how would I use ChatGPT or whatever to explore that subject?
Okay, here's probably what I would do, because there's different ways you can go about this, and there really is no right or wrong way. Think about ChatGPT as your assistant or even a confidant. If you said, geez, there are people with the Small Business Administration or SCORE or any of those other free organizations that know all about business, you could even pretend you're talking to one of them. What I would probably do is I would say, all right, chat, I want to come up with 5 good ideas. Pick your number, 1, 3, 5, 10, whatever it might be. I want you to help me come up with 5 good ideas for a side hustle. Then what I would do if I were you is I would ramble on a little bit and say, here's what I really like doing. Here's what my expertise is. What does that look like? How could that turn into a side hustle? And then I would go back to your ChatGPT and I would say, what else would you need to know from me? Go back again like you would with the memoirs and say, what questions do you want to ask me? And then as it gathers this, then you can go back and say, all right, now tell me what would be 5 ideas for a side hustle, or 3, again, come up with whatever number suits you. And then you can keep digging. The thing is with ChatGPT, with anything you do, you can always go to it and go, tell me more. Explain. If it comes back with 3 ideas, you can go back and say, explain number 2. The best thing if you do something like that is to copy and paste number 2 and paste it in to where the chat texting is and say, please expand or explain on this. You could even say, give me 3 key points to this, whatever. You can go to it and you can say, make a presentation, a 30-minute presentation for me on making wine at home. And it'll give you a presentation. It'll tell you how to do that.
Okay. That's an interesting idea. Anybody want to make wine? It's a dangerous thing to do. Okay. The other one that I had on my list is, I've got the following 3 things in my cupboard. What can I make for supper out of them?
Yeah, well, and that's just basically it. I had something once that I did a search and I said, I want to make a chocolate cake with the fewest ingredients or something like that. And I said, give me a recipe. And that's really what you do. So you would go to ChatGPT and you say, here's the ingredients I have. What can I make for dinner if it's an entree or a side dish or just for dinner in general, and see what it comes up with.
Okay, so, all right, I've done my questions. It's now everyone else's turn. Who has some questions? Nobody? I can hardly believe that. Phyllis, your microphone's off. I can see you're talking, but your microphone's off. Can you turn it on? There you are. Now your volume is probably not high enough.
Oh yeah, don't hear you, Phyllis.
Yeah. We still can't hear you. Jeannie, I don't know why you aren't.
Yeah, I can't get back on.
You are on.
Where?
Well, I don't know. We can see
Well-
you and we can hear you.
Okay, but I don't see my picture. Okay, because I've got comments here. Okay, I'm just gonna talk, can I?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Okay, all right. I worked with Becky. I've been working that AI thing for probably 4 years. I didn't even know what it was. It was like copy.ai. And I would go on there, you know, because I was doing quotes and everything. And I would say, you know, I don't even know who told me about it, but I would put in keywords, aging women over 50, and then I'd put in a keyword like, you know, menopause, or, you know, like hot, you know, whatever it was. And I would get back, get back fabulous information. I mean, like quotes, and I'd go on there and I'd even say, I want a quote on aging women, you know, and something else. And and then I remember whoever gave it to me, I don't remember who, but I'd say, is this for real? Or are they, this is before AI was even that popular with, you know, a lot of us. I
Right.
said, is this for real? Or is this, I mean, this sounds great, but are they copying somebody? You know, is this some, and this person said, no, this is like original stuff. It's like original. And so I said, can I use it? Yes. So I came up with really great quotes for ABD because of AI. And that was like, oh my gosh, 4 or 5 years ago. And so it does work. I mean, it's just shocking. You know, like Pat says, write a book, I'm writing a book. I didn't even think about using it on that, but you just, you go in and you put just a few words of what you're looking for, and it comes back and you get like, I don't know, I paid for so many answers that I would get, so many quotes, and then I'd pick the ones I wanted. But it was just shocking. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that it was legal, that I could do that they were not quoting somebody, but they said, no, it's not any. And so what we get off of AI is real, right? It's not like they're copying somebody else's answer.
No, well, what I can tell you is there's been some research done. It's basically a computer search, but a computer was given output from ChatGPT or some other chatbot, and 95% of the time it can't tell it's from a computer.
Yeah. Isn't that
And
amazing?
because I do a lot of writing, now my one project is taking way more time than I want, but you can see the book in the kind of purpley pinkish thing. That's ChatGPT for women. So I had this idea, I just want to do it for women, et cetera, et cetera. Then I decided I want to take that book. It's 170 pages. I started with 500 pages and I used AI. That was probably part of the problem. I had all this dang information and got it down to 170 pages. And then I decided I'm going to take this to a different AI than Chat, but I'm taking it to a different AI, and I'm going to tell it to rewrite my book for a different audience, and I'm going to tell them what that different audience is, because I thought I already wrote the doggone thing. Can we just, and if it's written for women, of course, I put in things like I said, something about communications, and women, we're the best at that, right? So I put in things that we would all relate to, and we'd be going, well, of course we are. Well, to a non-gendered audience, that might be a little bit offensive. And so I wanted it to just take the gender out and all that stuff. So it's working on that. Well, then the other thing that I do with these is I do my plagiarism check. So that document is in rough draft now. And actually I have that one rewriting the book for a military audience that I'm part of, that I'm speaking at in a couple of weeks. And I wanted to give them an ebook. Anyway, so it's doing that. And I did the plagiarism check. There were a bunch of things that showed up at 1%, 1% plagiarism. And I had that when I did the ChatGPT book, at least the women's one, and I changed everything, even though it was a 1%. And I thought, this is stupid, because I would have something in my ChatGPT for women where they said the way I phrased using a phone, a cell phone, a tablet, or a laptop was something that somebody used in a fitness newsletter. I'm thinking, who cares? But I wasn't really sure, so I changed everything. Well, that's just like really laborious. So most of the time, and now, like I said, my book that I wrote, the one for women, and having it rewritten, now when I've tested, it came up with 1% plagiarism a number of times, but I'm thinking, who cares? I'm not going to fool with that. No, I've learned enough that I know that's not an issue. So in my experience, it's been really good to not plagiarize. Now, the thing is, even if it isn't plagiarized and you're going to use it for an article, a blog, a book, whatever, it might not sound the way you would write. So that's the other part of that human in the loop idea, is take whatever you get and tweak it. And what I do a lot of times with my stuff, and somebody did ask a question, well, how do you get started and how do you use this? I use it a lot for my volunteer work. So I've got a foundation that I'm president of, and somebody, not me, decided, oh, well, we need to send letters to the people that are getting grants and those that aren't. And I thought, well, for like 20 years, the president of the club just called people. So of course I didn't really even want to write the letters, because I thought, now I got to do extra work. Well, I went to ChatGPT and I said, I want you to write a letter. You're an expert on how to communicate. And I want you to tell these charities that they're doing great work. They didn't get the money, and etc. And I didn't want it to say something like, you're a loser. So I was trying to so I got a letter, and then I said, give me 4 more or 5 more. And then I took all those and decided, what pieces I liked and how to put it together. So for me, stuff like that, where I usually go to ChatGPT, that's the main one I use. I usually go to it and I say, all right, I want to write an article about this. You're the expert. That's the other thing that's helpful. If you tell ChatGPT its context, its reference, tell it it's an expert in business, if that's what you're doing. Tell it might be an expert at making wine. We could go back to that idea. So pick something out so that then as chat is getting information, it's getting it to you from a certain level of expertise or certain wavelength. So tell it, you are an expert. A lot of times I do LinkedIn stuff and I will say, you are a LinkedIn expert. You also understand business and marketing strategy. And here's the key points that I want to make. And here's the analogy. Can you put it together? So I end up on my stuff feeling like it's my content pretty much, because I tell it so much of what I want it to do. Just almost if I had an assistant, where I would say, I want this and this and this and this. And then can you get it organized? Right?
Well, I was shocked. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll just ramble on otherwise.
I was shocked because what came back to me was very much things that I would say. That's why it was kind of scary. But like I say, this was like quite a few years ago where nobody was familiar and I wasn't that familiar with what I was doing. But when I would get answers, I'd get like 20 answers or something. And I was like shocked that it was kind of in my language and I mean, it wasn't that far off. But what I wanted to ask you was that, so I used something that was copy.ai. What, I don't even know what that was. And so the chat GPT, what does those initials stand for, and what was mine?
Oh, I don't really know. So ChatGPT, GPT stands for, I forget all the time, generated program something.
Okay,
It
but
does,
there's a lot of AI programs out there like this.
yeah. So if you're looking at various ones and somebody asked if I could show a screen, I could show a screen and I could show you actually how to do this. So ChatGPT, I usually go, if I'm looking for it, I would go to Google, or you can use DuckDuck or Safari, whatever you use to search. Anyway, go to that, and I usually just type in Chat GPT
Okay,
versus OpenAI. OpenAI is the company that owns Chat GPT, but I
okay,
for me, it shows up the way I want to have it if I just type in Chat GPT. But OpenAI is more than likely where you need to go if you want to set up an account. And you can get a free account, and that's for what's called 3.5. And that is updated through, I think it's sometime in 2022. So that's the other thing, is that the information isn't necessarily updated as of tomorrow or anything like that, but there's some ways around that. So ChatGPT is the big one. In December or January, I believe they said they had 1 billion interactions.
okay,
So they're crazy. But another one that you can use is still pretty much called Bing, B-I-N-G. And I would type in my search Bing AI, and then you get the new thing that comes up, and then you click it. You can do Bing AI image. Now, the thing with Bing is it's also going to show up as Microsoft Copilot. Now all the big players are getting their hands on stuff, which I don't really like, because then it's going to be nothing but super big business again. So they're still playing around with their languaging. So you'll see it show up as Bing AI image, or Copilot. And you've probably seen it show up as Copilot. The thing I want to tell you about this is that you can get, through Bing or Microsoft Copilot, you can get a newer version of ChatGPT, because they also put a pile of money into the ChatGPT company. It's just starting to get kind of weird. So if you want something more current, you can use Bing.
so when you
Yeah.
say, I don't mean to take over the conversation.
No, go ahead.
But when you say open AI, is that what we go to find these other things, or what was the open AI?
Okay, so if you're doing a search and
Yeah.
you want to set up a ChatGPT account, the company is Open AI.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, good.
But it's sort of like the product is called ChatGPT.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And then ChatGPT has the 3.5, which is the free version, and then the 4.0, which you have to pay for. And pretty soon 4.0 will probably be free, because they're coming out with a newer one.
Okay.
But
Got it.
they have more capabilities and all kinds of stuff as time goes on. The other one used to be called Bard, B-A-R-D. And so Bard used to be a really good writer, because of course, if you think about it, you go, oh, Bard, that's somebody like a playwright or a book writer. Well, so that one used to be known for being a good writer, but it also was known a little bit for making up its own stuff, which wasn't so great. And so Bard now is called Gemini. And again, I think you can maybe still type in Bard and it'll loop you over to Gemini, but that is the Google product.
Okay.
And then there's Claude. These are the 4 main ones. But now it gets confusing, because Bing is now Microsoft Copilot and Bard is really Gemini. And you're like, okay, but is it being called that all the time? It's kind of annoying. But the other one is Claude, just as in the name, C-L-A-U-D-E. Now, I have the paid version for Claude because I'm having it rewrite my book, and that's a little bit more heavy duty load for it to do.
So Becky, I'd like to share a couple other ideas of how you might want to use it, and you can chime in if I'm off on left field. But one of the things I thought about was I want to create a workshop on a specific subject. And so I asked ChatGPT to give me an outline of that workshop and then to go into, say, what are some handouts? What are some things I could talk about? It could do all of those pieces for me. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you want to do is maybe start at the beginning and say, I want to do a program on X. And I want it to last 60 minutes or whatever.
Give it those parameters.
Yeah, so you might first, and then tell it it's an expert on whatever that topic is.
Sure.
And then you might say, give me an outline for that. After it gives you the outline, you might decide if you like that outline. And then you might take point number 1 of the outline and you might go back and say, expand on this, give me an exercise, give me a quiz. It'll make quiz. I think this one makes quizzes. Give me, tell it what it is you want. And usually the word is expand. And the reason you don't want to tell it to take all 10 and expand is it does something called hallucinate, or I call it going rogue, where I've had this happen. It's not as bad as it used to be. It used to make me crazy. So let's say that you've got 10 bullet points. The first 2, it's coming along, it's giving you more information. You're going, man, this is so cool. All of a sudden, number 3, and you're going, what in God's name are you talking about? That isn't even related. Or it goes and you're thinking, that's not what I want you talking about. It just goes off in its merry little way. So it's best if you can take one chunk at a time and then say, expand on this, give me a worksheet or a handout, give me 3 bullet points or whatever it is that you wanted to do. And you can just keep giving it more and more orders and more directions.
Okay. Another one is I've been asked to give a talk on a subject, and I'm assuming I could say, here's the subject, here's what I want to get across, same kind of concept, but it would give you a place to start. Not necessarily what you're going to end up doing, but at least what I find is it gives me ideas of things I would not have thought about.
Yeah, that's really good. There was, in my rewrite of the book, the one thing I said after we got the whole thing rewritten, because it's missing stuff. And then I went to it and I said, what would make this better? Well, they said some case studies, some endorsements from military people, so I'm sitting there going, okay, I got 3 generals. All right. So ask it as well. What would make it better? You can also go back to some of these things and you could say, put in some humor if you wanted that, because I'm not a funny person, so I have to think, oh, geez, what the heck can I do to be somewhat entertaining? And so you could do that, or you could go back to it and say, man, I just need to be more serious. This is a serious topic. Or you might say, give me some real hooks. What can I say that's going to get their attention and hold them? So depending on, again, what you're trying to accomplish, you just start giving it more directions.
Sure. I often use it to give me quotes that women have said, but it doesn't always recognize who's a woman. So I have to check it carefully.
Well,
but it's, it's quotes on whatever subject I'm working on.
The journal that I did for youth, I went to that and I said, I want quotes from people under the age of 40 that are in sports and music, entertainment, etc., and don't have negative publicity. Because this whole book or the journal, my intent was to give youth something to get them off of social media. So the last thing I want is some cuckoo person giving a quote and have them, feel like that didn't make a whole lot of sense. The other thing I was doing the other day is years ago, I didn't write it. I just collected all the writings. It's a book called Love from Grandma. So it's advice from grandmothers from around the world. Well, I happen to have a little book that's about half the size of a regular book, and it's called God's Little Instruction Book. So I thought, I could take all my grandma quotes and we could put a Bible verse in and we would call it Grandma's Little Instruction Book. So I already started searching that and I said, give me some Bible verses that would fit. I had in the book, I think it's 6 sections or something. And then it didn't really give me Bible verses. So I said, I need the exact Bible verse and where it's from. So sometimes it'll miss and you just go back, like Pat has done, where you go, you sure this is women? Which woman is this? And again, on those, I do my own fact checking and I go, all right, this person's name is E, and then there's a last name. I don't know who the heck that is. So then I go and I try to find out who is that.
So
Do
Becky,
you want me to
how would
show?
you-
my-
well,
my
I was
screen?
going to say, if I give you screen share, can you go on and actually do a ChatGPT query, and we can show that to everyone? Will that
I
work?
should be able to. It just told me that I ran out of steam here. So let me, dang it all.
Does anybody have any other questions?
I do.
Okay, Patricia, what would you like to know?
Well, I get so tired of reminders and to-do lists, and I hear that ChatGPT can help you be more productive, efficient. I'm wondering how that would work.
Yeah, I wonder too. Just a second. Just a second. I'm trying to get my ChatGPT back up.
Patricia, that sounds like a good idea.
That's an interesting one. I hadn't heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
Darla, do you have a question?
I do not, but I hope that after we have the opportunity to read Becky's book, maybe we could have a follow-up and ask her questions and be able to meet again to talk about the book. I would love that.
We are thinking about offering a workshop, Becky and I together, to do a hands-on with the 10 participants to work with them specifically. Would that be something? Would that sound like that would fit for what you're wanting, Darla?
Yeah, yes, possibly. Becky and I have known each other for a long time, and I'm a recently retired teacher, and I want to do more about lifestyle and
Sure.
blogging and things like that. Even though I'm a teacher, I've always felt like I wasn't the strongest writer. And I think this AI is really a place that could help me feel more confident as a writer. The little bit I've done with it, it just generates ideas and really fills in the blanks for me. So I definitely would be someone interested in that.
Okay, well, perfect. Becky, I've made you host, so if you can go on and share your screen, that would be great. And any other questions or any other interest in, I'll send everybody an email, so it'll be fine.
All
And then
right.
you
Can you
can-
see
I have a
this?
question.
Sure.
Oops. A very basic question. Do you have to pay for this?
No,
The-
for the ChatGPT, no, unless you
Oh.
want to get a higher level or more expansive one.
So Mary,
Okay.
that's where ChatGPT, I have 4.0, I just switched it over, but
Mhm.
3.5 is free.
And you can get as much as you information content as you want.
I don't think you're gonna run over their limits.
Okay.
Then the other thing is that, remember I mentioned Bing. So if you went to Bing, if you did
Mhm.
like Google and you typed in Bing AI, that is also free, but it gives you the newer version of ChatGPT.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I just don't like the way Bing works. I like
Okay.
ChatGPT. So,
So this is the screen, right?
yep. Can everybody see that?
Okay.
So you can see over here on the left, I've got tons of things that I have done. I don't know if you can see it very well because it's kind of small print, but like I was just working on a dolphin story. And I went and I said, here's some things about dolphins. Here's an article that explains some of these cool things about dolphins. And I said, I want to draw a business parallel, either best kept secret of a business and how that relates to a dolphin and how that's a strength, blah, blah, so I go on and on. But one of the things, so let's just say down here, can you see at the very bottom of the screen where it's got like this little paper clip and then it says message ChatGPT?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is after you have your account set up and all of that. Now, in both of the books that I have, I walk through how to set up the account and what the screen looks like, and then you click on that and then you get another screen and then you click, it walks you through that. So what does anybody have as something we could try here?
Well, let's try the one that Patricia asked about how to get organized.
Okay, why is my thing not typing?
We don't know.
There we go. It was just slow. Okay, so here's a real simple one. How can I organize my day? Well, let's just see what it says. Can everybody read this? It says set clear goals, and it describes that, prioritize tasks, use a planner or digital tool, allocate time blocks, set reminders, review and adjust, limit distractions. Okay, so look at how fast that is. Stay flexible.
Wow.
Now, what you could do also is you could go back and you could say, you know, most Monday mornings, I do these 3 things or whatever it is. And then you can tell it to organize that part of your day better. There was once where I did, this is actually in the book. Please organize a perfect day. Oops. Day for me. Okay, now that's really vague. I actually did this and put it in the book because I couldn't believe how dang cool it was. So here it says, wake up, have a glass of water at 6 o'clock. At 6:30, have a healthy breakfast. At 7 o'clock, review your goals for the day and narrow down your top 3 priorities. 7:30, begin your work tasks. You can probably read it. 10 o'clock, take a short break. Midday, and then it goes through that, and then it tells you what to do in the afternoon. And I just thought, I hardly told it anything. And this is pretty impressive. Gosh, I could work with this.
Mhm.
So if you like this, then you could go back and you could say, hey, I need help with reminders. I forget stuff. And then you go to it and you say, how do you do that for me? Or how can I get you to do it? Now, some stuff you can't quite get ChatGPT to do. You might need to have, there's some other software out there called automation. You might have to have something a little bit different. But the thing is, you go to ChatGPT. Oh, well, let's just do it. How can you help me set reminders for my appointments? We'll just call it that. Okay. Or I had a typo and I don't want it to go goofy on me. Okay, how can you help me set reminders? Well, let's see what it says. Okay, you can set them up on your smartphone. You can use a digital assistant. You can do something on your computer. You can have a wearable device. Yeah, sorry, my computer's a little slow here. Anyway, so there it just spit out a whole bunch of different ways that you could set reminders.
All right. Anybody else want something else we should put in here and see what it performs for us?
Let me do one other thing for you, if I can get this done here quickly. Do it.
See, I think we should put in a, what does it mean to be aging but dangerous?
Okay.
Or what are 5 ways to be aging but dangerous? I don't know.
Ah, that's a good one. Okay, hold on a minute here. Let me see if this is coming up for me. Okay, just a second. Can you see anything now, or do I need to
Yeah,
reshare?
it's saying it's draw a picture of me or for me.
Okay, so I just want to see if Gemini will do that right here, because I was going to show you it does some really good stuff. Okay, well, there we go. Oh, I love that bear. That's like what my boys painted.
Yes.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So you know, for the books that I've done, I'll just tell you this. I use Dolly, which is associated with Bing and associated with ChatGPT. Dolly, DALL capital E. That's an image
Yeah,
generator.
Gemini's free also, right, Becky?
That's what I just did now is Gemini.
Yeah, and it's free. It's a free platform.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What I will tell you is that all of them seem to be pretty crappy at doing black and white drawings. And that's what I wanted in the books, so that they were more like an illustration than a photo, because a lot of times they're way better now, but a lot of times if you ask it to give you a color photos are pretty decent. Black and white photos can be just a little bit weird. And then for the book, I thought I don't want it to look fakey. So that's why I had it do drawings, illustrations. But here, we can try this in Gemini. And what did you want me to ask it, Pat?
5 ways to being an aging but dangerous woman.
Okay, let me put a word in there. It probably would be fine. What are 5 ways to be an aging but dangerous woman?
Yep. Let's see what it says.
And then we could have it draw a picture of. Here you go. Mastermind with moxie, unyielding spirit, fearless advocate, unconventional icon, unleash your hidden talents. Those frankly don't do much for me.
No, they're kind of flat.
Let me go over here to my ChatGPT. What are,
You got to spell what correctly.
I got it on here. At least it looks like it on mine. Is that right, or am I missing a word in here?
What are 5 ways a woman can be aging, but you're missing but?
Okay, I didn't know if you want me to put that. But dangerous?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see what this one has to say, because I think you can see it, it sounds like. And it says professional expertise, psychological savvy, physical fitness, wealth and resources, and social influence and networks with a description. I don't know how well you can see all that. I like this output better.
Well, and this would be a place then you could go in and say, tell me more about physical fitness, or, you know, what are some ideas of how to do it, or 10 ways or whatever, right?
Yep. And a lot of times it's good if you say, tell me more about this, and you put a colon. You don't necessarily have to, but some of it works better with certain structure.
Sure.
All right, it's going to tell you strength and endurance, balance and flexibility, mental health benefits, self-defense skills. Oh, there we go. That would make you real dangerous. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, so once in a while to guys, I will say, I'm a black belt and I'm not afraid to use it. then they'll lift up their shirt and go, well, I got a black belt too. And I go, yeah, try harder.
You are funny, Becky.
Becky, or I'm sorry, Patricia, what did you say?
I said, so you are funny, Becky.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, other questions? Other ideas? What else do we want to put in and play with?
I do have a question. Does that Gemini, would that generate something like a PowerPoint with words on the picture?
Okay, just a second. There's other things. Do you want to do a PowerPoint?
Yeah, why don't you try one?
Well, I can show you one. These aren't very good at that yet. Here's one. Let me see. Okay, just a second here. Create these images. I wanted to see what it came up with for women that are aging but dangerous. Let's see if it'll give us some images. Oh, great. Turkey. They're on lunch break. Okay, it says silver streaked with fire, confident stride, bold accessory, clothing with character, background, and possibility. So darn it all. I just wanted to have it create an image. Let me see if I can show you something quickly here. Okay. Well, I'll just show you this one. This isn't my favorite, but I'll show you this one. Or maybe, yeah. So my favorite one for doing presentation is called Gamma, Gamma. Okay, can you see this okay, or is my sidebar showing up here?
I only see Gemini was just updated in the images message.
Okay, just hold on. I'll come back and we'll start the sharing over. Okay, now can you see the penguins?
Yes.
Okay, so this one, I had some content and I went to the presentation software, which is called Gamma, Gamma. I can get you a link. You can do it yourself. It'll give you some free time. If I give you the link, then I get more free time. But anyway, so this is a PowerPoint, and I said, I want to do a presentation about penguins and how they take a difference that people could think makes them less attractive and turn it into a strength. So I wanted to draw the business analogy. So I gave it content and it put in the images and it made this. So here's the second slide. I'm trying to move so you can see everything. So there's slide number 2. There's slide number 3. There's slide number 4. And there's my summary, key points for business, because again, I'm a business person, so that's what I love talking about. And then the power of penguins, lessons for business. It did that. Now, the one I wanted to show you is my mind map one, but I wasn't exactly sure where I had that saved. And when I did the mind map, pardon me?
That becomes the challenge of where on earth did I save it?
Yeah, well, you know, when I'm trying to go find it quickly. But the thing to keep in mind too, if you use Gamma, is that you can go to Gamma and you can say, make a presentation for me on ABC. If it's something that's well known enough, like mind maps have been around forever. Patricia knows that because, you know, I used that when I worked with her. And that's almost a generic term, I guess you would say, or it's well known. So it just put together this awesome presentation. And I thought, dang, I should be doing seminars on this. Look at, there's my talk. It's ready to go. And I gave it basically no content. And I thought, I love everything it gave me. It would be terrific. So that's where too, you can use some of these tools and they will use artificial intelligence to create it for you. Or you can say, here's my 4 slides, my 5 slides, my whatever, and give it the content. Then you go and they have little templates, just like if you do PowerPoint, and you pick out maybe a template, the look you want it to have, and it'll do it and it'll put in images for you. Now there's a way that you can do some stuff on PowerPoint because now it's using some AI. I haven't fooled with that too much, but you know, that's another option, is to go to PowerPoint and use the AI option and have it do some stuff for you. But you know, for me, the fun thing is I can do all this stuff that now some of it still takes me too long. But you know, like this presentation, I think I took an article I read, I put some stuff together. Maybe all told, it might have taken a half hour. Now, when I did my one on mind map, I just went to it and said, make me a presentation on mind maps. Bam, like 5 minutes, there it is.
Wow.
So another question, Becky, does chat or do these AI programs provide its sources for you?
Ah, that's a great question. So there's something here, and I know we're about out of time. There's something also that, again, it depends who you study with and what they talk about. is that there's something, I'll just stop my share here, but there's something that is called a trigger word. So when you're giving orders to whichever artificial intelligence you're using, there's some trigger words. One of them is research. If you tell it to do research, it will actually go to something like Google and it will get you newer information. And I think Chat 3.5 will do that. That I can't say positively, but that's a keyword or a trigger word is research. And a lot of times then it'll give you the sources. Another keyword is create. That'll give you images. So you want to say create or draw or something like that. And let me see, there's another one. Well, then if you just said write, it's going to do writing. So in answer to your question, it may or may not cite the sources, but you can go back and tell it you want to know where the information is from. I started doing that a long time ago, and sometimes it would be really good, and sometimes it'd come back. You'll run into this. It'll come back and say, I'm an artificial intelligence program, and I compile lots of information from various sources, and I can't tell you that. And then you just want to slap it, but you can't. So the whole thing is do what you can. And a lot of times they've gotten so much better now, or sometimes even if you say research this topic, it automatically cites the sources. So that's where things are changing and evolving. You know, I trained with a company that I've been training with for over a year, and we redo our sessions. So we have a 12-week session, then we start over again at the beginning. But now the beginning has so much more to it than we did even a year ago. And there's things that come up just almost every 2 to 3 weeks sometimes. So it can be a little overwhelming. So I would say, you know, start with the text things and decide if you like ChatGPT. That's the big boy, the big woman, the big player out there. But then you can keep in mind if you did make any notes or drop me a note or ask Pat or whatever, but you also have Bard, which is now called Gemini. You can also do Bing, which will get you more new chat access, and that's part of Microsoft. And then Claude, which, oh, the other thing, I just got to tell you this, is that you want to be careful what you tell any of these. Claude is the one that's supposed to be secure, that you can give it. I would never still give anything like a social security number, but you might be able to give it your name and phone number. You know, I get a little jittery on that too. But like in my talk, when I'm working with job hunters, I'm going to tell them, if you want to have your resume critiqued, get your name off it and don't put anything that identifies you and have it critiqued. If you want to use Claude, you can probably put your name on. But on any of this kind of stuff, and there's all kinds of things we could have talked about, you really want to be careful about not giving anything that can identify you. Because what happens is they take all the information that they generate for you and it goes back into training their artificial intelligence with more information and more data. So they're constantly trying to get more data to get what they're doing improved. So they're going to take data from everywhere. And there's things you can do to turn off the data and all that stuff, but I think it's just smarter to realize that you want to be safe and not give it anything that can identify you.
Okay, I want to share one other thing that happened as a result of working with Becky. I have a client that we work with in Germany, and we're looking to do some work with material that's written in English. And Becky told me about Dibble. Is that the name of it?
Oh, there's different ones. The one I use is HeyGen, and then I used another one.
Yeah, but there was one called, I think it's Dibble or something similar to that. And it turned out that that is a German-based company, and he was familiar with it and were able to translate accurately from English into German. So if you need to do any translating to Swedish or to, you know, whatever, give it a try. This stuff is out there to help us and is available. Now, Becky, do you want to talk a little bit about your book that's launching this weekend?
Well, I can briefly. I know we're at a wrap up, I think, so I don't want to.
We're okay for a minute or two here. We
Oh.
can do it. If people have to go, they have to go, but we're recording, so
Okay,
let's.
well, the first book is the ChatGPT for Women. You can see over here the purpley pinky one. And again, I wrote that because I wanted it to be for women, because I'm sick and tired of women being talked down to, or women downplaying our skills and our capabilities. You know, like they say sometimes, if a woman's looking for a job and she has 9 out of the 10 skills, she'll be like, oh, I'm not good enough. But if it's a guy and he's got 5 skills, he's like right up there going, hey man, let me talk. So I wanted to put that out there. And there's less women in tech fields. Obviously, we all know that statistic. And I thought, you know, sometimes my whole reaction was, I don't have time for this crap. Well, then I looked at it, I'm like, this isn't crap. This is really good stuff. I got to do it. And I didn't want people, women in particular, to feel like, oh, is it too techy? Is it too yada da da? Because, you know, we can all talk ourselves into something. And I just wanted to have the book and say, you know what? I want women to know this. I want women to have the tool. I want women to have more power. There are a couple stories in the book about women that went to ChatGPT and said, teach me how to program in Python or C++. And they did, and they went and got certified and got promoted. And I just sit there and go, heck yeah, that's what I want to see happening. Anyway, so that's that book. And then the ChatGPT, because I am a marketing person, I also thought if I can be real specific in who I want, you know, then I have a target market, which of course is in my world of things. And so the other one I thought is my oldest brother is quite a bit older. He's 87, and he is like a master on his cell phone. And I think he can do stuff I can't do, because I hate cell phones, because I'm on the computer dang near, 12 hours a day. So I just would rather deal with the computer. Well, my brother's all over the cell phone. He doesn't know dirt squat about a computer. And, he's just like, I'm not ever going to have to learn that stuff. Well, he thinks ChatGPT is bogus BS, and that's okay. But the fact that he's 87 and he still works and he's still writing for a magazine, I just think that is so stinking cool that I thought I want to do a book for people that are a little bit older. Now, I just picked 50 because ARP calls anybody over 50 a senior citizen. So at least we can get discounts. And I figured there's so many times that people, hardly at 50, but maybe more like in the 70s and in the 80s and all that, where people are just talking down to them and acting like they don't have a brain anymore, or that, they're just going to eat mushy food or something really sickening. So I thought I want to do this and come up with things that I know people that probably are retired, not all of them, but a lot of them will be retired, but at 50, they're still working, a lot of them. And my brother at 87 is still working. So I thought, I just want to do a book that also addresses some things that maybe somebody in that older age category would be interested in. And one of the chapters I have in there is overcoming tech phobia, or I can't remember what I called it exactly. But I thought, it's understandable that as we get older, we start thinking we don't know how to do stuff, or maybe we haven't had enough experience with certain tech things. And so I just wanted to dispel all that and empower people over 50, 60, 70, 80, and just say, you can do this. If you want to do it, here you go. Go out there and just show them what you got.
So the book is launching this weekend on Amazon?
Yes, on Friday. So if you're on LinkedIn at all and can help promote this, that'd be great. I have been extremely fortunate. I've got 3 journals, a paperback, the hardcover, and the youth journal. Those all hit bestseller. The youth journal hit bestseller before it was launched. My ChatGPT for Women, I don't even have copies of it with the bestseller on. That is bestseller. And the reason you want to hit bestseller is maybe then Amazon will help promote it. Maybe.
Maybe then. Okay. So check out Amazon this weekend for it. I would ask, if you have found this useful, please send me an email to tell me that, and that I can use to promote it to other women and encourage people to take a look at this. We have recorded it. I will be posting the recording on Aging But Dangerous's YouTube channel. And so we'll have that. And then Becky and I have talked about doing a follow-up workshop, which we will send you some information on. And if it's of interest, we would love to have you join us and we can think of your project and maybe we can go through some specific projects. Would that be of interest to everybody?
Yes, that would be
Mhm.
wonderful. Yeah, and thank you, Becky, so much for doing this.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yes.
great. Our boys are the same age.
I know, it's crazy. So you've done a wonderful job with this.
All
Well,
right.
thanks. It's a lot of
Becky?
fun. And the other thing I might suggest too is think about what more you would want to hear, or is there something tonight that you'd say, could you do less of that? I mean, everybody's in a different place too, and
Sure.
everybody has different experience, so it gets to be a little bit, kind of too easy for some and not enough for others. So, if there's something too where you say, gosh, would have been great to do more of this or less of that. I don't know, Pat, if
Okay,
you'd be
well,
interested in those
let us
ideas.
know. You've all got the info at Aging But Dangerous email, because that's how you got the link. So let us know. We just love to hear from you. And Becky and I will be in touch probably on Friday. All right?
Thank you, everybody. It
Thank
was
you.
great to see some of you
Thank
again
you.
and meet
Good
some new
night.
women.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't be
Bye-bye.
dangerous.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.